Father, Spirit, just lead and touch our hearts, Father, and what just let us experience the good works of your Son, Father, and these people of faith, these heroes, Father, and let us leave our mark on this earth, Father, that we may be talked about 2,000 years from now, Father. In Jesus' name, we pray.
Amen. All right, guys. So we walked down. Actually, we're at chapter 14. Actually, we did chapter 14 a little bit last week. Here in 13, kind of coming back a little bit there. We had the Passover again, where he comes down, he walks through the different things with the Passover, the different instructions. And again, kind of the one I focused on last week, and actually that's not true, it was one, but it was one that I thought was hilarious, is that there about the redemption part, and which has been brought up now multiple times by the pastor there, and I also, my Sunday school class, had brought this one up. But when he comes down, he says, that the firstborn, they should all be set aside unto the Lord. And then he says, however, when it comes to the donkey, you shall redeem it with a lamb. And if you will not redeem it, then you just break its neck. Now, that was the funny part, the breaking the neck part. But then he comes down to the next one, he says, and also, for all the firstborn men, likewise, you shall redeem. And if likewise you shall redeem, then likewise if you will not redeem, like that. Yeah. The realities, and the thing I thought was funny about that is the comparison there, because he goes, all the other animals, every other animal, like it's okay, the firstborn. But when it came to the donkey, it ain't okay. You got to redeem with the lamb. And when it came to man, it ain't okay. You got to redeem with the lamb. And kind of the comparison between the nature of man and the donkey. And I thought it was kind of hilarious because it is it's a pretty dang good illustration. Think that we know something, even though God says, "Hey, come this way." And it's funny with donkeys. I didn't have a whole lot of experience with them, but the few that I did have. I can laugh about it now. On my Aunt Jackie's, there was a donkey that was there, and he was just stubborn, and there was a couple of horses that were like this too, but he'd always take his, like, he walked into the corral, and he'd take his butt and he'd turn it towards you. Yeah. And he'd take his butt and he'd turn it towards you. No, that's not what he would do though, because like what he'd do is he'd keep on turning his butt towards you, and then as soon as you weren't looking, he'd start backing up. And he'd back up with his butt, hang you up against the wall, in there with his butt. And I mean, and stink, this, that, and the other, just get you all nasty, and everything you can imagine. He was a mess, Though back there, I remember once when my grandpa's going back there to Missouri, and there was one, and I was just told, hey, you just take him right over here, and leave water and food. Oh, ain't doing it. And it's like, even when there's good things. That donkey, for whatever reason, thought that he had something else that was better in mind. Thought he knew something better than to just go that way. It's amazing, with most horses and stuff, every once in a while, don't get me wrong, there'll be one, and especially if one kind of connects with an individual, and then you're not that individual, then they won't listen to you quite as much. But I mean, for the most part, though, most of them, if there was water there, probably would have walked there right there. Like, there was no problem. There was no hesitation. With us, and with God, thinking that, we know a better way, even though he says, no, this is living water. He's like, no, this is what the truth is. No, we think we know another way. The thing is that if it's not bought back, not paid for in full and bought back by the blood of one who is perfect and deserves not to die, then what hope is there for that donkey? What hope would be there for that man? So see, the breaking of the neck thing is actually merciful. Because if you would do it then that individual would not live their whole entire life missing God and have to face God on judgment for an entire lifetime. They're still going to face God in judgment. Take it for what it's worth. God said it was for a purpose. And the representation to me was, you see that a lot in different areas here that we've already covered throughout the scriptures, Sodom and Gomorrah. If any of them would have believed, they would all have been spared. Yes, but why does judgment come down? Because they were already judged. And they weren't going to be about the gospel, they weren't going to preach the gospel, they weren't going to share the gospel, so then what's the point? Did I hit something too hard too early in the class? Because everybody just almost shocked on their faces. We went over this last week, so I don't think it should be shocking. Maybe everybody just tired and cooling down. And then the next part that I thought was really beautiful was about every single one of these times that he goes over. When he talks about originally the Passover and the blood being put over the doors, when he talks about the lamb being killed and it not being, that you did not keep it all, but it had to be ate all right then. That if your family was too small and the lamb was too big, then you'd go get your neighbor next door and share it with them. But no matter what, not one piece left that house. If anything was left over, you threw it in the fire and you burned it. But you nothing left, And then he, over and over and over again, the bread, the unleavened bread. Every single time he walks through one of these, he says, so then, there was the first one is that the people that come into your house that are not part of the house, if they try to partake, you tell them no. And when they ask you why, what are you supposed to tell them? Because that God, with a strong hand, delivered us from the bondage that we were in. That he, by his power, by his strength, delivered us from our bondage.
If they believe that, they need.
Yes, if they believe it, right, and then become circumcised, like for us to be baptized, right? So they become a part of the family. He says that no longer do you consider them a stranger or a foreigner, but instead they become a citizen immediately. And you sit down with them and partake with them. But if they're not a part, if they have not believed, if they have not accepted it, even if they're there in the house, you don't let them partake of it. Why?
They have not believed in a strong hand of God.
Okay? What is the representation of it?
The gospel.
Okay? The gospel is Christ. It's a perfect life that was given for all of our rotten lives. Yes? Save us out of hell from the condemnation that we justly deserve. Yes? Right? So why shouldn't somebody be able to partake of that if they have not believed in it? Why take a sacrifice? Why would you take a sacrifice and take part in it? If you're denying the very reality of it, then what does it make it? It makes it nothingness. It makes it a joke. Right? And why does he say to do it? To remember. Yes? To remember what he has done and what you know and believe that he has done, he's done for you. So if you're going to say, oh yeah, you're not a part, but yeah, go ahead. Then what are you saying it means? Because they haven't accepted it. It's not there.
Because he hasn't made it real to them.
Thank you. And then it takes a step further, because not only is it that they themselves have not accepted it and be making a mockery of it, but you yourself, by telling them to go ahead and partake in something that they have not believed, you're saying that it doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal that he gave up his life. It's not that big of a deal that he died for your sins. It's not that big of a deal that his blood was shed out for you and for everybody else. Yeah, and you won't believe. Exactly. It's not that big of a deal that you're sitting there dying in your sins instead of grabbing a hold of the Savior from you. And then again, what happened to all of those who would not partake? The firstborn in every household died. It said that there was not any place in all of Egypt where there was not the shedding of tears heard, the weeping. Yes? But anybody who did it, then judgment passed over their house. So anybody who would believe, who would be a part, judgment passes over. Right? And he says, and you tell them, so in that way, he's like, so you tell them, no, you can't take. And he says, so they'll ask you. And I think that's neat. That God actually kind of gives that, because he says, you know what, because they'll ask you why not? And guys, I did not share this one last week, but I'll share this one with you. So my son Canola sits in with me. He's been sitting with us almost 2 years now, babe, something like that. And one day he just walked up and he was like, you know what, I want to come in there and hear what you guys talk about. And I was like, okay, son, I'm thinking, all right, he's been messing around with me the whole entire time and everything else. That's what I used to do. So I figured that's what he was doing. But anyways, no, I told him, you can't be messing around, moving around, things like that. You don't want to be a distraction. And so he was like, all right. He comes in, he sits down, like I said, 2 years. And then, so this last time he comes down and it's the Lord's Supper. And the first time he kind of came around, it was not even thought. The whole thing that was going on, and he was just kind of watching, but it wasn't no thought to him. This time around, he came down and he kind of was like, well, what's going on? And so I told him, I said, but right now, son, I said, you can't partake of it. He's like, well, why not? I said, so it shall be when your sons ask you in the time to come, saying, what is this thing? Why do we do this? What is it? Because then you can tell them. Then you can tell them. Because it was by the strength of the hand of the Lord who brought us out of Egypt and out of the house of bondage. And it was sweet, because I got to sit there and share with my son. I was like, listen, son, I look forward to someday being able to partake in this with you. Right now, you haven't gone forward. You haven't made a profession of faith. And that, you know what? That's in God's time. So I'm not telling you need to go do something. I look forward to that someday too. But you can't do anything else besides God. They said, but for right now, because it's not where you're at right now, you can't partake in it. But this is what it means, and this is what it represents. And when that's a reality to you, then you'll have to go forward. You won't be able to control it. And you'll make a profession. And then you'll sit right here with me, and we'll partake in it together. He looked at me and smiled a little bit. He says, okay, Dad. Yeah? No frustration, no disappointment, no nothing. And instead, the gospel was able to be shared with my own son. The whole representation of every single article that's in the Lord's Supper is able to be shared. Yeah? All off of us just doing it for us to remember. Caused him to ask the question, why? Gave me the ability to once again share with him. Yeah? And then for him to actually witness it. Right? See it actually follow through. Yes? Yes. Beautiful, beautiful thing. So we were at 13, what I was reading was verse 14, chapter 13, 14 there. Yes. By the strength of the hand of the Lord brought us out of Egypt and out of the house of bondage. So, we walked that through, let's see here, Wilderness Way. We went over the Wilderness Way and the reason why they went on that little journey that they did do there from, I believe it was Migdal, Etham to Kadesh. And now God's kind of brought it back around, so we stopped there at verse 14. So to let you guys know, that I wanted to be able to actually spend some time here on this chapter today. And maybe even a little bit more, but definitely on this chapter. So chapter 14. Now the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel that they turn and camp before Pi. I'm just going to leave it at that. Between Migdal and the sea. Opposite Baal-zephon, you shall camp before it by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are bewildered by the land, the wilderness has closed them in. Then I will harden Pharaoh's heart, so that he will pursue them. And I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over all his army, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so. Now it was told the king of Egypt that the people had fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people. How many times has this happened? Quite a few, right? This time they're already done out and gone. And by his own word, by Pharaoh's own word. And he says, why have we done this? That we have let Israel go from serving us. So he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. Also he took 600 choice chariots and all the chariots of Egypt with captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And he pursued the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with boldness. So the Egyptians pursued them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, his horsemen and his army, and overtook them camping by the sea beside Pi before Bel. So the Red Sea kind of had two different little gulfs that kind of came off of it in two different directions, okay? Up towards the Mediterranean Sea. And where God had them come around the camp, he made them kind of come up and around and bring them down right in the middle of that mouth. So they're surrounded by water. The one area in which there was land, now Pharaoh and all of his army of horsemen and chariots have come down on the church. Yes? So if you can imagine this, remember, now you've already been walking, right? Already got a cloud, keeping you cool during the day, pillar of fire, keeping you warm at night, right? Already been on this journey for a little while. Maybe it was like a day or two, if I remember correctly. Probably don't remember correctly, but really that's about what it was. And so he comes down and he has them camped right here in this spot. Now, to Pharaoh and all of them, then this is the perfect ambush spot, right? Because where can they go? And by the way, they have chariots. Do they have, it's funny too, because God keeps on calling them his army, right? And yet they have no steel, they have no weapons, they have no horses, they have no chariots, they have nothing like that we would think of for that of an army. Yeah? But it's kind of sweet because God's army doesn't always look like what we would think an army would look like. So it says, and when Pharaoh became near, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. So they were very afraid, and the children of Israel cried out to the Lord. Then they said to Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, you have taken us away into the wilderness to die? Jeez, God. You said you love me, and you've just taken me out here, and I've got to deal with this world and everything that's going on in it. You just brought me out here to die in this wilderness? Why have you so dealt with this with us, to bring us up out of Egypt? Is this not the word that we told you while you were still in Egypt, saying, let us alone, so that we can just serve the Egyptians? Unfortunately, in my ministry, there's been a few times where I've heard different individuals make pretty much the same comment. And I told you guys last week, this isn't the only time that they were to make this comment. And like I said, unfortunately, there's been a few times where I've heard people, it'd been better just to stay lost and just die than to have to forgive or have to love or have to just have faith that God has it in control, is going to take care of it. Even though he's not doing it my way, the way that I want to see it done right now. Even though right now everything around me does not look like the way that I want it to look. For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than we should die here in the wilderness. And Moses said to the people, do not be afraid. Be still and see the salvation of the Lord. The sweet part about it is that with every one of those individuals, I've been able to have that same conversation with them. Tell them, what? Be still. You need to look back and see his salvation. He says, which he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see again no more forever. The Lord will fight for us. You hold your peace. You know what he told them? What did he tell them? Shut up and be still. Shut up and be still. Take the donkeys. You think you know, you think you got it figured out, you think you have a better way, and you think because of what you see, that you think you have something figured out, and you have some sort of knowledge. And what you need to do? Be still, be quiet, and see the salvation of the Lord that He has for you today. And if you're going to refuse to see that salvation, you're not a part of His body anyway. And so then death in Egypt, death in the wilderness, death is just death at that point because there's already going to be death anyways for you. You're not going to see His salvation. It didn't matter where your body fell down. And the neat part is, guys, is that no matter what, God's salvation is still there. And it's amazing to me because God's the one who's fighting for us. All the time. It's amazing to me some who despise Him for it. See, for them right there in that moment, they're wanting to live it an opposite way, yet it's God who just kept on fighting for them. They're denying everything that He is and everything that He was and everything that He will be. And yet, He kept on fighting for them. Now, the caution in that is don't stay there in your own hearts if you've ever been there in your own heart, because many of those right there died in the wilderness and did lose their souls right there in the wilderness. And the Lord said to Moses, "Why do you cry out? Tell the children of Israel to go forward. Stop looking behind you and move forward."
Amen.
And He tells him, He says, "Lift up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go by dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I indeed will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. So I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over all of his armies, his chariots and his horsemen. Then the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gained honor for myself over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen." So then the angel of God, who went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them. And the pillar of the cloud went from before them and stood behind them. So it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. And thus it was a cloud and darkness to the one, and it gave light by night to the other, so that the one did not come near to the other all night long. Right there. Well, that kind of reminded me of, Pilgrim's Progress, where the lion, I don't know how many of you guys have read Pilgrim's Progress, so forgive me for using this analogy. But when Pilgrim's walking up, and two old boys come running past and screaming in fear over what they see is going to be destruction. And they say there's these lions up here and they're going to devour. If you try to walk through, they're going to devour you. They have this huge roar and everything else. And I'm sorry, because there I go. That's where he had lost his scroll. He finds out that he lost his scroll because he reaches for it. He lost the words of God. He has to go all the way back to where he decided he was going to take his slumber to find the words of God again, and then come all the way back over the hill and all the way back down again. So he ended up having to climb the hill 4 times. He should have only done 1 time. Anyway, okay. But he gets over there, and the roars of the lions, the looks, and everything else was like there's going to be destruction. And then as he looks down, he's reading the scroll, the words of God. And he continues to walk forward. He gets up there, and he looks up, and the lions were chained. Looked, sounded. Devin, go through this door right here. All the doors on the outside are locked. We go Tuesday night because of the young ones back there in the back. I usually announce it before class starts. I did not get that done tonight. My apologies. So yeah, just with that right there, what they're looking at, and what they're seeing is these armies, and I mean, in their mind, that's very, very real, right? It is amazing to me because I don't know where the thought of the pillars of fire and the clouds, things like that. I don't understand. They're saying that too. And they're even feeling it, and have been for days, and like still brought us out here to die. But the beautiful part, though, is that, you know what, God's deliverance was right before them the whole entire time, just like He promised. So it came between the camp of Israel and Egypt, and it says that then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea. And the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. So the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on the dry ground. And the waters were a wall to them, on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and all of his horsemen. Now it came to pass in the morning watch, the Lord looked down upon the army of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and the cloud. And He troubled the army of the Egyptians, and He took off their chariot wheels, so that they drove them with difficulty. And the Egyptians turned to Pharaoh, and they said, "Let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fights for them against the Egyptians." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand once more over the sea, that the waters may come back upon the Egyptians, and their chariots and on their horsemen." So Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and when the morning appeared, the sea returned to its full depth, while the Egyptians were fleeing into it. So the Lord overflew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea, and the waters returned and covered the chariots, the horsemen, and all the armies of Pharaoh that came into the sea. Not so much as one of them remained. But the children of Israel had walked on dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on the right hand and on the left. So the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Thus Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt. So the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and His servant Moses. Now, I have a bunch of things I'd like to talk to you about, but I can't because I don't want my dad to still on all losing for a second. Again, just for some of you know, it's been an ongoing thing between some of us. If you, I don't know how many of you guys were here back for the sermons, every sin, the drop of water, sea of sin. Like a big cloud. What I talked about was about how every sin that we committed, if it was just, I started way before that, Katie. But one of them that I did though, and this class. Yeah, no, this was a sermon that I done. This class right here was started in 2016. Did I start teaching it?
Yeah. November, December, somewhere around. That's the last time I talked to you.
Yeah, I remember it was supposed to be 4 weeks.
It was. The part that I did that was actually aimed directly for the teachers was 4 weeks. And then they stopped coming. And then everybody else said, you know what, let's continue on with what we're on. That was still coming. Well, okay, not all of them stopped, but the rest and everybody else said, you know what, let's continue on. And so from there, we had continued on, and we just stayed right there, and we walked through the actual scriptures there of Hebrews. And then that's what's brought us all the way around now from the heroes of faith. Now walking through the Old Testament there and actually seeing the living of everything that was being talked about there in Hebrews and all the teachers that walked before the teachers that we have now. So I wish all the teachers were still, but anyways, that is what that is. The point here is that with a sermon that I had to preach, and I believe, I want to say now, it would have been 2 years ago, October, is when I would have preached it, I do believe. Might have been 3 years ago. But it was that every sin that was committed, that you've committed, personally, that you've committed, every missed mark, right? So to understand first what a sin really is, that, we think a sin is when we did something right or something wrong. Well, actually, in fact, in the moment that you think that you know what was right and what was wrong with the situation, you've already committed a sin because you were not judged over that situation. No man knows, and no man is good except for God. So again, if you're going to run down those roads, like we have no idea the amount of sin piles up so quickly. Sin itself just means to miss the mark, and the perfect mark of God is Jesus Christ. So if anybody in that, for any moment, is missing him, then what do they have? Sin. So then, how many sins, how many drops in a day? You know, guys, the reality is that it's so much that we really cannot even comprehend. And so the illustration of this was that every single one of our sins, if it was one drop of water, and then the seed that would create. And God is on the other side of that sea. He's on the land of perfection. And somehow we've got to get from where we're at, and we've got to get to God. How can we ever get to God? And so in that illustration right there, I believe what I used is that it was God who came to us, right? But God didn't just come to us, which he did come to us, but he actually has given us the ability to walk by dry land to him. It's the path of Jesus. The path that Christ has laid out. Yes? And then it's amazing because all that sin that should consume us, right? And the judgment and the captivity that we should be under from the king of that judgment, who comes up right behind us all day long. Yeah? And it's amazing because God doesn't allow it to happen, even though it should happen. Instead, he creates a divide. Yeah? And he's given us the ability just to walk just by dry land. And all those sins that just be parted out of the way. Taken out of the way. That was all done by the blood of Jesus Christ for us. Stop writing back there. I see you writing. Give him that argument.
Yeah.
I don't think he's actually even writing right now. I'm just being I'm being a son. If he doesn't steal, you will. But yeah, every sin was a drop of water. How many oceans or seas would there be? How deep would they be and how wide would they be? And how far then would that journey be to be able to get to God? The beautiful part is that it was Christ who walked on the water and came to us, and it was God who parted the waters so we could pass to that land of milk and honey. And what's beautiful is for anyone who just takes the hand of Christ, they can be pulled out of that death and walk with him. So then Moses and the children of Israel sang this song to the Lord.
Sorry. There's the music.
See if I can get in the group, so see if I can put it into this too. I'm not that creative. I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength. He is my song, and has become my salvation. The confession that's even in that right there was that Moses did not always live him as his salvation. But he has now. He is my God, and I will praise him. My Father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he has cast into the sea. His chosen captains also drowned in the Red Sea. The depths covered them. they sank to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Lord, has become glorious in power. Your right hand, O Lord, has dashed the enemy in pieces. And in the greatness of your excellence, you have overthrown those who rose against you. You sent forth your wrath. It consumed them like stubble. And with the blast of your nostrils, the waters were gathered together. The floods stood upright like a heap. The depths congealed. Is that the word you're saying? No, I was cracking it down. The depths congealed in the heart of the sea. Joke. Sorry. The enemy said, I will pursue. I will overtake. I will divide the spoil. My desire shall be satisfied on them. I will draw my sword. My hand shall destroy them. You blew with your wind. The sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Lord, among the gods? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? You stretched out your hand, the earth swallowed them. You in your mercy have led forth the people. You in your mercy have led forth the people, whom you have redeemed. You have guided them in your strength to your holy habitation. The people will hear and be afraid. Sorrow will take hold in the inhabitants of the Philistia. The chiefs of Edom will be dismayed. The mighty men of Moab, trembling, will take hold of them. And all the inhabitants of Canaan will melt away. Fear and dread will fall on them. By the greatness of your arm, they will be as still as a stone, till your people pass over, O Lord. Till the people pass over, whom you have purchased. You will bring them in and put them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Lord, which you have made. For you only dwell the sanctuary, O Lord, which your hands have established. The Lord shall reign forever and ever. I don't know if you know how many different theologically great points are made actually throughout this psalm of Moses here. The grandness and the exaltation, the praise, literally, to the Lord for who he is and what he is. And then the praise for what he has brought. Wrath came upon those who would not heed him, would not hear him, would not believe him. But there were those who he had mercy on. And he already had redeemed. And that, it just again, even in philosophy, that being past tense, that he'd already bought them back. For Christ was seen crucified before the worlds began. Paul, he writes that how is it that the Lord was able to pass over all the sin that had been previously committed? You've already seen Jesus Christ crucified. That the Lord did it by his own strength. Nothing of the people. How the Lord defeated the enemies. And yet, again, the Lord calls people his army. He's the strength. He is. He is. And you know, what did Moses actually do? In reality, what did Moses actually do? Okay. Listen, followed him, believed, so he heard the words of God. And he did not look at what the people at that moment were even complaining about, right? Didn't look at what he could see. Heard what God said, he obeyed. Yes?
Did exactly everything God told him to do. Said everything God told him to say.
Well,
Perform everything God
be easy
told
with
him
that.
to
Be easy with that, because no, he did not say everything that God told him to say. He didn't do exactly the way that God told him to always say it. He did not do it in every way that God told him to do it. But what he did do at the end of the day was he believed God. And he did follow through, and God blessed him for it. All right? And because you want to be careful, because you don't want to exalt too much on Moses and that, because it's still God's mercies that does it. And because again, it's Moses is actually the first one who raises up against God and says, God, ain't no way.
Yeah.
Crazy. He says, yeah, oh, you're the one who brought me here to make all these people mad at me because I'm telling them what you said. Because at that point God told him to go in there and tell Pharaoh to let the people go. Right? And then remember, Pharaoh gets all mad.
Yeah.
Right? Then immediately Moses says, well, why did you send me for that purpose? And things like that. Again, Moses is no saint in that sense, but what he does do is he believes, stop, did not consider, and look, there's what God said, and he did end up doing that. And right here in that moment, he did it. And because of that, they were able to pass through by dry land. Yes? And it's beautiful to me that Moses sees the redemption that's already been done, the mercy that he does not deserve. To call it mercy means that you're not giving me what I deserve. But you have had mercy, and you redeemed. Yes? And then you're worthy of the praises. You're the glorious. You're the holy. You're the one. You're the victor. Yes? And again, the thing that was crazy to me, though, is how God always looks back and he looks at all the people, and he says, man, no, they're my army. And you look at the people, and again, they don't look like an army. They don't resemble it at all. The beautiful part about that is a lot of people don't resemble any kind of army. But the tools in which God used was not swords and stones. It was not any show. It was not anything. What was used was the words of God. He heard those words. He believed those words. And in that, faithful. That's why he is listed as a hero again of faith. Yes? Everything that would have looked like, and again, did he get caught up in the look like at moments? Very much so. Before he read, I don't know how many times he does. Yeah, just like us. Yeah? And you know what? And he kept on, and he kept on, and he kept on, and it was beautiful again, as God had already told him. You'll know that it was my way the whole entire time. Always. And when did he say that Moses will finally find out that it was that way? And it really is right here at this moment. You'll find out that I was for you the whole entire time, that I redeemed you the whole entire time. You'll find out after you actually deliver it all the way out of the hands of Egypt. And I'm going to deliver them. I'm going to do it with my mighty hand. Yeah? And when, if you remember, Moses, oh, Lord, no, it ain't me. Oh, no, Lord, I can't talk. Oh, no, Lord, I'm stuttering. Oh, no, Lord, there's this problem. Oh, Lord, there's that problem. Oh, well, there's Aaron. Okay, well, but I ain't talking to Aaron in forever, And then, like, it's just like one excuse after another, Hey, guys, again, that stubborn donkey, ish
Ass. No.
attitude.
That stubborn ass.
That, again, the sweet part is, though, is the redemption that Christ is for all. Yes? And at that redemption, God has already seen it that way, and already seen it that way for all of them. And remember, too, here at this point, he's called them all Israel. Yes? When they walked out, what were they called? Right here, he calls them all Israel. I said that when they walked out, what were they called? Remember? It says that all of Israel got up and they did exactly, they the bread, the Passover, all that, it all took place, right? And he tells them to go ask your neighbors, and, ask for silver and gold and everything else. And they do it, and it says that all of Israel got up and they walked out. And it says, and many others. Yes? Different people from different places. There was Egyptians, more than likely there was slaves from other countries, more than likely there was all kinds of different mixed matches. Egypt was not just a slave country, so there was many people that lived there. just like Israel came and lived there without being a slave. So there was probably other people, but some of those people had lost their children that same night. Yeah? Get up though in faith and start walking. And what do they call it? So again, it kind of establishes once again that the issue of not all of Israel is of Israel. And then, just because you're not born in Israel does not mean you're not of Israel. Right? And even in the Passover, okay, you have a foreigner, a stranger, whoever, a relative come and visit you, but as soon as they believe, then what do they become? A citizen, right? They become a part right then. Yes? And again, these same things are hit over and over and over and over again right through here. So your people have passed over whom you have purchased. The people whom you have redeemed. In the mountain of your inheritance, you will place them. Plant them. For your own dwelling. You will plant them, place them. In your dwelling. You know what we call that dwelling? Verse 17, if anybody wants to read it. Sanctuary. Sanctuary. Church. Yeah? And so all these different people from all these different places, from all these different lands, God will plant them, place them, for his own dwelling, the sanctuary. It says, O Lord, which your hands have established. And the Lord shall reign forever and ever. The Lord established his sanctuary. Only was there a sanctuary in the sense of a church building. No, it doesn't even exist. Do you understand? Like, I think that's so cool. It is. It's him in them, and them together, and what do they make? A sanctuary. Yeah? And I thought that was like so beautiful. And it's all different kinds of people, all different kinds of sinners. There's one redemption, one Savior, one blood, one life. One God, and they held on to him, and they started following. Yeah? And they're delivered. Yeah. And you think they live the rest of their days and like, whee, I'm delivered, right? They still do for a little while. For the horses and Pharaoh went with his chariots and his horsemen into the sea, and the Lord brought back the waters of the sea upon them. This is verse 19. But the children of Israel went out by dry land and into the sea. Verse 20. Then Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took the timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them and said, But sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. So, not enough to have some tambourines and some dancing going on. Better sing to the Lord. For he has triumphed gloriously. I think it's like just really like beautiful and to see that. And in my mind, so throughout all of this, guys, I imagination starts going and everything. So I see them out there walking. It says that they were doing it in a very, very orderly fashion, which was kind of interesting. Yeah, for a bunch of donkeys. Okay, sorry. But then, no, they were all walking along, they're all orderly, and then they get brought down, and I just imagine, during the day, it would be hot, there's this cloud constantly. And I don't know about how many of you guys have had to work in the sun, but there comes that point, you start praying for that cloud. And just a little breeze, a little cloud, just a little relief. Yeah? And then all of a sudden for this cloud just to show up and be big enough to cover the whole multitude of people that's walking. And so, I imagine it. And then I imagine they're all orderly, right? So I'm guessing like all lined up, right? So then I imagine like this cloud is probably like all long. And no trail is ever straight. Right? It's always like, kind of, so I start imagining as they walk in the cloud, like, and then I couldn't help it because if Friday's moving, all of a sudden I see that big cloud that pops into my head and says, trolls. Yeah, I just don't trust the cloud wearing socks. Sorry. Oh, sorry. That was a fun, cute movie, Friday nights. Kids watch because of all. But anyways, I envision that, and then all of a sudden, I see them come down, and in compassion, really understand. You look back behind you, you see this army coming down on you. And this time, they're on their chariots, they're on their horses, and they're coming to kill. Like there's no doubt. Like that's exactly their point of purpose when they've gone to that extent. Then they're coming, hundreds, 600. Isn't that what it was? 600 chariots. 600 just chariots alone. It doesn't include then all the horsemen. And so again, like just the magnitude, the sound that would create. You don't have buildings and other things to keep up that sound. It's out there in the desert. So like oh my gosh, I just could only imagine. So I can understand compassionately wise as I'm kind of like walking down through my head. And then they come down right there, and then there's the instruction, and just be still, and then that pillar comes down in behind and divides. And then we're safe. We're sitting there, and there's this body of water, but it's just water on every side. And then there's this pillar behind us. And there's nowhere to go, And then all of a sudden, for that water to be split in dry land and walk through. And God just being right there with you, just walking through that. Get there to the other side. Turn around and see. Swallowed up. Obviously we're there for a little bit of time for bodies to actually float up and come ashore. Right? And Moses is out running around singing songs. It was Moses and the children of Israel. And so the multitude. They get numbered later on. At this point, they haven't been numbered. Or at least not in this book. But you have this multitude, and they're all singing. And all the ladies are so happy, so thankful, so happy because the Lord has loved them and saved them, that they start grabbing instruments and go to dancing. I know me, I'm a crybaby, so I just be sitting there and crying. I'd be smiling and crying. Yeah. I'd be trying to sing along and probably do it. And not just over the sight of the deliverance and the victory, but the sight of the people rejoicing. Yeah, it is kind of a sweet thing when we do partake in the Lord's Supper and we all walk out singing together. And, there's a lot of things that we don't get to do together. And we don't get to experience together. But for that one moment, for all of us to be able to do that together. And by the way, that's probably the most orderly that I ever see us. Serious. Maybe even more walking out, from the front to the back here. Yeah, we got, some that just want to nourish the door, and I guess they just got something busy that they want to run back to. Others, the bathroom becomes a big issue usually, so you got a flood trying to go this way, so we're trying to go that way, but that one day we do it together, all the way, walk out together and everything, and we sing together. Yeah, and I don't know, reading through this right here, I just kind of imagined, and what I could see though was us. Walking across that desert, walking across that seashore, and water walls on both sides. I have no idea the exact depth, but I can imagine standing walls of water. I have no idea, movies can't even justify. And the pictures can't even, seeing the pictures like that, very system or something. But you've been to an aquarium, walk by a wall of water. No, you've never been to an aquarium before? You've been to Arizona Mills?
Yes.
You know Arizona Mills over here on Baseline?
You want to take us to that?
And on the other side,
Sea life.
Sea Life Aquarium right there. Cute little aquarium. Yeah, there's sharks that swim through and walk through this one little section and everything. But even the little tiny fish tanks that they have out there, I can't remember how many gallons it was, one of those little tanks, but it was amazing because it doesn't look that big, but I guess, it's kind of like the view of the glass or whatever else. It's actually a huge tank that's in that wall right there. And, I just couldn't imagine all that water crashing down. The strength that it takes to hold that water back, right? By glass. All the engineering that goes into it, the man has to do that, and then God just goes. Yeah, it's amazing to me. That's our Lord, and the men singing songs and praising God, and the women dancing and praising God. And the encouragement, and it's sweet too. It's nothing big, it's nothing fancy. On one hand, and yet it is so beautiful and such a big statement. Sing to the Lord, for He has triumphed gloriously. It's not a lot of words, but the magnitude of those words. Have you ever thought of all the way the Lord has gloriously triumphed? You're here right now, so that right there is a vision. Yeah, I know, exactly, and then you look around, it's not just you over here and the rest of us, And then, you start counting the triumphs, and you couldn't. And how glorious is His triumph. Yeah? And worthy of some praise. So. So guys, I love you. We're going to stop right there. After that, it starts walking again. There just, there becomes the multiple different revelations of God's love that continue to pour out.
Oh, maybe.
Bitter water.
No, but not because the bitter water is a beautiful thing.
Oh, okay.
Every single one of these.
Crying.
Yeah, no. Well. Yeah.
Oh,
No, that's all right. Now you're making me want to have to address it. I was trying not to tonight. Okay, so with the bitter water, God makes it sweet. So God takes what was bitter and was unpalatable and undrinkable and actually would cause them to sick and die. And by one simple thing, by one simple answer, God cleans it, makes it as sweet as can be. Yeah, He does. He does. And he can wash away all that bitterness, all just like that, just one simple little thing. And so again, Katie, I'll hopefully I'll try to save some of it for next week. No, it's all right, I don't blame you. I do the same thing in services and stuff like that. I read my little bit and stuff like that. You guys know, remember, just if we can, you know, guys. Do not.
And I saw it's a lot too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, throughout, again, even just this part right here, how many different things throughout the scripture that my brain goes surrounding on. It's hard for me to not go off on all of it. It really is. Just some really, really big things that to me, where it is. The Lord did not save us for us to die and live in death. He saved us for us to live in life.
Amen.
He saved us for us to live it by faith, not by sight.
Amen.
He saved us for us to be still.
Amen.
For us to be quiet.
Amen.
For us to be witnesses.
Amen.
Of who He is, what He is, and how great of a salvation He is and has provided for us. He's accomplished that today. Just like He accomplished it then. And just like if any person just turned to the Lord and seek Him as their Lord and Savior, He would be that again for them today and forevermore. If you have fear, do not be afraid, but stand still. Be quiet and see the salvation of the Lord. Sorry, I wanted to make a joke tonight. It's not time. Know that He is the Lord. Nor that there is no depth, no width. There is no sea, there is no mountain that He cannot part or move. First, Him coming to us through Jesus Christ, now that we can walk in Him. And if you're ever feeling like you're going to be consumed, that you'll see the sin, maybe you got to stretch out your hand. If you're going to do it, make sure you're stretching it to the right one. The Lord. Yeah? He's our salvation. So guys, I want to go off on a bunch of other things. Peter was just walking on that water. All of a sudden he started to see the winds and the this and the waves and this and that. He starts going under. Jesus saved him. Stretched out his hand. Jesus grabbed him up and pulled him straight forth out of the water. Yeah? There's many times where I've been scared. And a lot of times, with fear, everything you say ends up being the wrong thing. Every direction you run ends up being the wrong direction. Fear the Lord. You know what? Yeah. You don't need to run nowhere except Him. He's the Redeemer. Yeah. There's nobody else with an answer except for Him. Believe Him. A lot of what you fear is what you do not know. Yeah? He knows. He knows. So who better to run to? That makes sense? Because even if you still don't know, at least you can know that he knows. Yeah? Even if you don't know how deliverance is going to come, like he does. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter what the situation or the circumstances is, he does. He is the Lord. So sing praises to him. Sing to the Lord. And he has triumphed. And if anybody asks you why we do all these weird things that we do, you tell them. Because of God, by his strength, of his hand, his arm, the strength of his right hand, he led us out of the bondage. Yes? And he led us to land of milk and honey. Yeah? What we deserve was from that judgment come on all of us. But he passed over. You know, come to services every Sunday. Why do you do that? Because he is. Why do you pray? Think about it. Any questions you've ever been asked about something that you do for the Lord in service and honor and love and reverence? Look at it. Every single one answer right because of what he did. It's sweet with us guys here at Pleasant because it is for what he did. It's not for what we're trying to gain, but it's because of what he did. Yeah? By his hand. And ladies, dads, sing to the Lord. And men, some of you may not, yeah, do the way you go. But you can sure sing the praises to the Lord. All right, guys, I got it. I love you. Hope it was a good class. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Love you.